Hey guys, this is Brian Jones from Valhalla Academy in Frankfort, Kentucky, and this is our mat chat. Today's topic is training beginners. One of the most common questions I get from people that are trying to start gyms, or they're creating a little club, or the university club, for instance, is how do you deal with beginner students? Let's assume the average person is going to start, the average new coach is going to start a club. He has a few friends who are maybe blue belts, maybe purple belts. Maybe he's a purple belt and he's just got some experienced white belts and some blue belts. And then he tries to recruit new students. So this coach, he or she is going to have to go out and get some new people, and when they come in, retention is always the key. So if you can't retain your new students, then your school will die. You have to make it fun enough for them and educational enough for them to want to come back and train again. As much as the competitors enjoy coming in and sometimes just kind of beating up on each other, that's not the way the average person thinks. Maybe down the road, those people will develop a sort of, they'll be a little tougher, they might want to compete, and they'll want to up the training intensity. So let's take this for instance. So you've got a group of 10 students, and you've got some relatively advanced people, and you've got some what I call advanced beginners, so seasoned white belts that kind of know the ropes, but they're not really great yet. They still could use a lot of work. And then you've got some people who really don't know anything. I mean, you try to talk about the guard and they don't even know what the guard is. So how do you structure a class around this? Because this situation happens a lot when you start out. You don't have enough students to have a beginner class, intermediate class, and advanced class. So the way that I've found that's the easiest to do is everybody is going to line up and bow in just like normal. You're all going to do the same warm-ups, okay? And then, when it comes technique time, you're going to start with the fundamentals. You're going to teach the philosophy of what you're about to do to the entire class. Even though you know that the people that have been there for a while have already heard this, it can't hurt them to hear it again. So, if I have a class with the composition that I just described, and we're going to work on guard passing. Well, first of all, I'm going to say what the guard is. I'm going to discuss briefly that there's a closed guard, that there's an open guard, and I'm going to give some definition of the guard that might include something like anytime your opponent and you are on the ground, your opponent is on his back, and his legs are between your chests, okay? Now, if they're wrapped, we'll call it a closed guard. If they're open, we call it an open guard. And there are a lot of different variations within that open guard position. If you only have one leg trapped, it's half guard. So I'll give them some basic terminology. Then I'll say, well, why would you be here, for one thing? Maybe you ended up here off of a takedown, okay? Maybe they escaped from your pin and put you in between their legs into the guard. So you want to try to talk about the position. So I give the definition, I give the context of the position, and then I make everybody drill the basic position. So if we're doing guard passing, the primary thing we're worried about here is the safety of our arms and head so we don't get tapped, and also our base and balance so we don't get swept. So we might do a positional drill which involves just staying up in posture, showing them a good arm position with the gi grips or no gi grips on the hips or the armpits, just trying to get into a safe postured position that doesn't lend itself to us getting tapped out by our opponent. And so we'll do that for a short time. The next thing that we're going to do is basic guard pass. So I would show something that everybody in the class can do. Now, the people that have been there for a while may already know this guard pass. That doesn't matter, okay? No one, and I mean no one, has perfected something so well that they couldn't use a few more reps. So everybody is going to practice the fundamental guard pass. If it's, let's say we're breaking the guard, basic break from the knees or break from standing, we may do that, and we're going to rep that out. And everybody's going to do it. Then we're going to do a really, really basic guard pass. Like a single underhook or a double underhook pass, something like that. And everybody's going to do that. After that, usually the brand new student will have enough information for the day. And what I'll do is I'll tell them, if you've never done this before, this will be a good place to stop learning new material and continue to practice your old stuff. So I may show another technique for the advanced beginners, and if they feel comfortable enough to move on, then they can move on, and then we'll practice that with the very new beginner students staying with that first technique, just so they can get that one thing down. Okay, posture, break, one pass. The more advanced students, they might have a couple of passes to work on. And then I'll show something that is a little more advanced, or that I would not expect anybody under the highest ranking belt there to be able to do live. And so if the intermediate students are comfortable with a couple of techniques, then they can keep practicing those. And so basically your advanced students have gotten reps and fundamentals, and they've gotten some new material or some stuff that they need to work on. Your new students have gotten a context, a basic position, and some stuff that they need to work on. And everybody has gotten something out of this class. When you put people together to drill, it's important that the new students, drill and have success. What I mean by this is, if your drill is to pass the guard, okay, that drill is for the person on top. Okay, if it's a guard passing drill, and if it's in a learning environment, you want to pair up with a person and go at an intensity that allows them to succeed at least some of the time. If you're an advanced student going with a new person and you decide that they're not going to pass your guard, they're probably never going to pass it. Whether the round time is 90 seconds or 10 minutes. You can hold them there all day. It doesn't do you or them any good if that happens. So I make sure that the advanced students are providing a challenge, so it's not easy for the person. They have to actually do the technique correctly in order to pass. But if they do that, then the advanced students don't fight tooth and nail to get the guard back. So it's important that we build on success. Drills should not be built, especially these developmental drills, and especially early on, should not be built on failure. You need to turn up or turn down the intensity based on who you're working with. If it's a competitive class and the goal is to sweep or submit or whatever, you can go 100%. That's not a big deal. But in this type of situation, you don't want to put too much emphasis on winning this drill, especially if it's not for you, if it's not for the bottom person. Okay, it's for the top person. So they should succeed and be able to have at least a few successes, a few passes during that time period. So that is basically the way I would structure this. As far as sparring, we have a general rule here is that we don't beat up on new people. New people are not punching bags. And I have put a whole video on don't beat up on the white belts. My senior students are junior instructors. So if you are above them in rank, you are an instructor to them. Okay, and if you can, you want to try to provide a challenge for them without making them feel too bad. Okay, if they have an ego, it's going to get crushed pretty quickly. Now I'm a big fan of the ego crusher. If somebody has an ego, go ahead and smash them around when they first come in and try to get that out of the way early on. Don't hurt them. Just let them know that they're not as good as they think they are. And if you do that really soon after they get here, they're typically going to listen to you a lot better. So that's what I would give. That's the advice I give to training new students. Okay, so in a mixed class, once you get your classes, if you get more students and you can start to stratify based on skill level, that's awesome. But most times, and sometimes never, I mean, you may never be in that position. Your school may be a small club school that just never grows that far, and so you have to work around it. This has been Brian Jones for Valhalla Academy. If you like this, click like. Please consider subscribing to our channel and share this with all your friends. Train hard, train smart, and train often. I'll see you next time.